How do you win a political battle when the very definition of truth is under siege? In a congressional hearing that was meant to scrutinize the president's family, Representative Jasmine Crockett executed a stunning reversal, putting the investigators themselves on trial. Armed with what she called receipts, she embarked on a methodical takedown, not of a witness, but of the narrative being built by her political opponents. She alleges a consistent pattern of distortion, a deliberate campaign to present the American people with alternative facts. This raises a profound question that goes far beyond a single hearing. When official transcripts clash with public statements from those in power, are we witnessing a legitimate search for truth or a masterclass in political theater designed to erode public trust in the institutions themselves?
Ms. Crockett of Texas.
Without objection, the amendment is considered as read. I reserve a point of order. Ms. Crockett is recognized for 5 minutes to explain her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm introducing this amendment to emphasize the importance of telling the truth. Chairman Comer has given us alternative facts about the testimony of Mr. Devin Archer provided to this committee, the Democrats and Republicans, but behind closed doors. Again, it's common sense not to trust my colleagues on the other side of the aisle when it comes to stating the facts, because they are the same ones that gave us alternative facts about the election. They gave us alternative facts about January 6th. And thus far, they have given us alternative facts, at least to the American people, about their motivation for this impeachment inquiry. So I do have a few receipts that I'd like to go through. On December 6, 2023, Chairman Comer tweeted out that President Biden emailed with his son's business associates. But let me be clear, when consulting the transcript, it was determined that those were alternative facts. The actual facts found in Mr. Archer's transcribed interview show that President Biden was not involved in his son's business activities and that during his more than a decade-long business relationship with Hunter Biden, Archer never witnessed President Biden have any involvement in his son's business dealings or take any official actions to benefit Hunter Biden or his businesses. And Archer never witnessed Hunter Biden discuss the substance of his business with his father or ask his father to take any official actions. Again, in August of 2023, Chair Comer stated in an interview to Newsmax that Mr. Archer, quote, admitted that the Burisma executives were squeezing Hunter Biden to try to do everything he could to get the prosecutor Shokin fired because they were going after their corrupt energy company. And lo and behold, a few days later, Joe Biden actually did that. After consulting the transcript, yet again, it was determined another alternative fact. The actual facts are that Mr. Archer specifically spoke about Ukraine and Hunter Biden's role with Burisma, the Ukrainian energy company on whose board they both served, and repeatedly stated Hunter Biden never discussed Burisma with his father and never asked his father to take an official action to benefit him or Burisma. Mr. Archer further stated that he had no reason to believe Vice President Biden's call for Shokin's removal was driven by anything other than the U.S. government's anti-corruption policy in Ukraine. Chairman Comer again tweeted, he loves his Twitter, on December 6th that President Biden was on speakerphone with the Biden family business associates over 20 times. We consulted the transcript and it was determined again, another alternative fact. Mr. Archer's transcribed interview actually states that while Hunter Biden spoke frequently with his father, sometimes when Hunter Biden was with other people, Mr. Archer stated he never witnessed any discussion of substantive business during these calls. Again, Chair Comer's association with reality about information brought forth by witnesses he demanded come in. Well, Chair Comer, we spun it. Again, about Mr. Archer's statements when it came down to President Biden. When we consult the transcript over and over and over, it's been determined that the facts that have been laid out by the members of this committee on the Republican side have been alternative facts. When Mr. Archer was directly asked during the transcribed interview if President Biden was the brand, Mr. Archer clarified that DC was the brand and that he and Hunter Biden helped to assemble a team of attorneys, lobbyists, and public officials, public affairs professionals to handle Burisma's government relations, and President Biden was not part of the DC team. It is no wonder that Hunter Biden wanted to come before everyone in public because, Mr. Chairman, it is vital that we continually have to set the record straight and make sure that alternative facts are not what's being handed out to the American people, but instead the facts, the real facts, reality.
Well, the
I
gentlelady
would also
yield-
like to, yes.
just for a quick question, Ms. Crockett, and I thank you for that illuminating intervention, because I'm starting to wonder if the Russian hoax should apply to the lie about Burisma, which sits at the very heart of this investigation. That's the real hoax, isn't it? In fact, the Lev Parnas, who helped make it up, he's been out there begging Chairman Comer and the Republicans to end this wild goose chase and to have him come testify about how they tried to concoct the lie in the first place. And yet, that's a witness that they don't want to hear from. I thank you. I yield back to you, Ms. Crockett.
They don't want to hear that. And if we care about making sure that the American people know that we have transparency and truth on this committee, then I would implore this committee to release the transcripts publicly instead of tweeting out alternative facts about what has been testified to.
Mr. Chairman.
As previously approved, each side has.
Mr.
As
Chairman.
previously approved, each side has.
Okay, all right. So we love the Constitution today, and we also want to talk about foreign money coming in. Have y'all seen the report that was just produced where this chairman decided that he was going to block this committee from receiving additional information about y'all's guy, Trump, and all the money that he took? From what we did receive, we know that Trump got almost $6 million that we can account for, and we know that that's more, that there's more there from China specifically. We found almost $8 million total that he accepted from foreign governments while he was serving as the president of these United States. But we're concerned about the president's son who has not been involved in his administration. I just want to run it back, though, to the very beginning, because this is something that I just can't get over. I can't get over the gentle lady from South Carolina talking about white privilege. It was a spit in the face, at least of mine as a black woman, for you to talk about what white privilege looks like, especially from that side of the aisle. And let me quote your now ousted speaker and what he had to say about the Republican Party and y'all's lack of diversity. When you look at the Democrats, they actually look like America. When I look at my party, we look like the most restrictive country club in America. So let me tell you something. Y'all don't know what white privilege looks like, but I'm gonna show you a little bit of something. You see, you want to talk about a two-tier justice system, and this is the only time that y'all have ever referenced it, when this country has a history when it comes to black and brown folk of having two separate sets of rules. And right now what you want to do is have two separate sets of rules because Mr. Moskowitz offered y'all a fair situation. He said he would vote for Hunter to be held in contempt if y'all voted to hold all, even if you remove all of the members of Congress. There's still other people that y'all haven't decided that y'all have excuses for, but y'all don't want to hold them in contempt. But for some reason, it makes sense to hold Hunter Biden in contempt, who has tried to comply. And let me tell you why nobody wants to talk to y'all behind closed doors, because y'all lie. That's just the bottom line. You have done it thus far in this investigation. You have done it this far as it relates to this committee. In every single hearing, y'all spin. I don't know how y'all are still standing right now, because you should be quite dizzy from all the spinning that you're constantly doing when it comes to spinning the truth. You talk about free and fair elections, but you back a guy who we know tried to steal the election. And this isn't about what Democrats have to say. Let me remind you, for those of you that don't know how the justice system works, it's not a matter of the president went in and indicted Trump, but we are talking about grand juries. Grand juries are comprised of American citizens, and the people that have entered pleas of guilty that will be flipping on your leader in a minute, they are Republicans. I do want to point that out. And half of them were Republicans that were handpicked by Donald Trump himself. So, to be clear, whatever happens to your little leader, it's going to be because of the actions that he took. So you can talk all you want to about how January 6th was nonsense, but all of y'all were running at that time. Y'all were grabbing y'all's gas masks and y'all were running to your offices because you didn't know if they were coming to kill you.
You should have cared that somebody was there to protect you, but instead you want to play games because you found out that it was your leader that decided that he wanted to propagate an insurrection on our country. So don't tell me that you care about the Constitution, because you don't. All you care about is Trump.
Representative Jasmine Crockett's performance in this hearing was not merely a defense of the president or his son. It was a meticulously constructed prosecutorial counteroffensive aimed at dismantling the very credibility of the investigation itself. Her central thesis, repeated with the rhythm of a legal argument, was that the Republican-led committee, under Chairman Comer, was engaged in a deliberate campaign of misinformation. Her strategy was not to debate the nuances of the evidence, but to invalidate the narrators presenting it. She achieved this by establishing a clear, repeatable pattern. First, she would quote a specific public claim made by Chairman Comer, often from his social media or media appearances. Then, with the refrain after consulting the transcript, she would present the contradictory testimony from their own star witness, Devon Archer, effectively framing Comer's statements not as interpretations, but as alternative facts, a politically charged term she wielded with surgical precision. This logical progression was designed to portray the inquiry not as a fact-finding mission, but as a politically motivated wild goose chase built on a foundation of known falsehoods. The strategic objective was clear: to shift the public's focus from the alleged actions of the Bidens to the alleged deception of the investigators. Crockett's demeanor was relentlessly prosecutorial. Her tone was not defensive, but aggressive, adopting the role of a cross-examiner who already possessed irrefutable proof of perjury. Her choice of words was modern and impactful. Referring to the transcript excerpts as receipts was a deliberate move to connect with a broader audience, framing her evidence in the contemporary language of accountability. This approach projected an aura of absolute confidence and control. While her supporters would view this as a powerful display of holding power to account, her detractors would likely see it as partisan aggression, dismissing her arguments as political theater. However, the strategic impact of her theodore was to seize control of the narrative. She was not responding to accusations, she was leveling them. This forceful posture left little room for ambiguity and was intended to dominate the exchange, making any defense from the other side appear weak or evasive in comparison. In terms of adaptation, Crockett's speech demonstrated a mastery of preemptive rebuttal. She wasn't reacting to questions in real time, but was systematically dismantling the public narrative the committee had been building for months. When a Democratic colleague interjected to reinforce her point about the Burisma hoax, she seamlessly integrated his support, using it as a springboard to amplify her call for transparency by demanding the public release of the full transcripts. This moment showed her ability to use alliances to maintain momentum and control the flow of the hearing. Furthermore, her pivot to the charged topic of white privilege was a strategic adaptation designed to broaden the scope of her critique. By accusing her opponents of hypocrisy on issues of justice and quoting a former Republican speaker on the party's lack of diversity, she skillfully reframed the debate from a narrow legalistic argument into a much larger cultural and political indictment, ensuring her message would resonate far beyond the hearing room. Ultimately, Representative Crockett's performance was a calculated effort to redefine the battlefield. She argued, with compelling evidence from the committee's own records, that the investigation's core claims were distortions of sworn testimony. By doing so, she sought to answer the central question of the hearing not by proving Joe Biden's innocence, but by attempting to prove the investigators' guilt in misleading the public. The goal was to poison the well, to convince the audience that any conclusion reached by this committee would be inherently untrustworthy, because the process itself was tainted by a disregard for factual evidence. It was a high-risk, high-reward strategy that transformed a defensive position into a full-frontal assault on the integrity of her adversaries. What do you think of her strategy? Was this a brilliant deconstruction of a political narrative? Or was it simply partisan theatrics? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more in-depth analysis.